Hello and welcome to Thrive After 45 podcast, the podcast where we redefine the significance of you, for you, by you, because of you. I'm Denise Drinkwalter, a midlife renewal coach, here to help women embrace their power, purpose, and potential. This show is your space to explore what's possible when you prioritize you. Through inspiring conversations, expert insights, and real stories, we'll uncover how to navigate transitions, rediscover joy, and thrive inside and out. It is time to let go of guilt and fully embrace the life that is waiting for you. This is the Thrive After 45 podcast, and it is your time to thrive for you, by you, because of you. It is an incredible honor and a privilege to introduce and welcome Carolyn Boras to the Thrive After 45 podcast. Carolyn is a dedicated RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy practitioner and certified hypnotherapist with a deep passion for supporting educators. With 45 years of experience as an educator, Carolyn understands firsthand the immense challenges within the education system. 5 years ago, a health scare gave her a second chance at life, an opportunity she chose to use in service of others. After receiving her RTT training, she committed herself to helping teachers who are experiencing burnout and guiding them to overcome guilt, anxiety, and fear while reclaiming their confidence, self-esteem, and sense of purpose. Through her RTT practice, it is growing, and Carolyn has already made a profound impact, helping 16 individuals, and I know that number is already climbing, transform their lives. With her wealth of experience and her unwavering commitment to the well being of educators, she is on a mission to bring hope and healing to those who need it most. Carolyn, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here and talking to you. Thank you.
We both are connected to education. I had 31 years. You've been 45 and continuing your ability to share your educational experiences, wisdom, and insight. We would love to know more about the journey that brought you to RTT. I know I said it, but a lot of us are probably wondering, I've heard of it. I've heard of hypnotherapy. Tell us a bit more about how you got here and
Mhm.
what it is that you are actually speaking of, the power of it.
Mm. Thank you. Um, Before I answer that, I need to go back to give you a clearer idea of how I actually got here. Um,
Perfect.
I had been teaching in Canada for about 25 years,
Mhm.
and where I was living, it was very expensive. And so, as a teacher on a teacher's salary, I couldn't afford to go anywhere to do anything. I couldn't save any money. I had a 15-year-old Honda Civic that had 250,000 kilometers on it. And if it broke down, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was living in the suburbs, and at that end, I was the only single person in any of the schools that I worked at. I was a specialist, so I would travel around to different
Gotcha.
schools. So that's what was happening in my single life, or in my private life. But
Right.
professionally, I was approaching my 50th birthday, and I had been traveling around to different schools, as I said,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter what staff room I went into. The only talk I heard was people discussing how many years, months, weeks, and days
Mm,
they had till retirement. And some of these people had 15 years till retirement. And I thought, so I'm approaching 50. If I retire at 65, how am I going to stand another 15 years of listening to this misery? I thought, I have to do something. I
Mm,
can't just stay here.
yeah.
So that's when I discovered the world of international teaching, which up until then, I had no idea existed. I mean, how would I know? This was now 20 years ago, you know? And so fast forward to as the year that I turned 50, I had my first international teaching gig. I was in
Nice.
Singapore. And I decided that since this was such a new chapter of my life, and since I was approaching 50, I thought, well, 50 is a big number. I mean, oh my gosh, I've never been 50 before. What is that actually like? So I decided that my 50s were going to be my decade of adventure.
Mm,
So in my 50s, I was in Singapore. I had travel opportunities, I had professional opportunities. I, the world just opened up for
oh,
me. And so then, as I was approaching my 60th birthday, I went, well, 60 is like a really big number. Now, what do I do with that? I decided my 60s were going to be my decade of even more adventure. So I had more adventure, and then I went to teach in the Middle East, and then I came to Asia. And so, in the midst of all of that, 5 years ago, as you mentioned, I had a health scare. And I was given this second chance at life. And I know not everybody gets a second chance. I
mm,
get that. And so I was grappling with, well, what do I do with this? I have to honor this somehow. Otherwise, it's going to be for what reason? Like, why? It has to mean something more than, okay, now I go back to my regular life.
right.
So it was while I was grappling with that, I discovered RTT, rapid transformational therapy, and I'd already had hypnotherapy, in my own personal life, and I really
Yep.
liked it. It's fascinating, and I was always interested in how the mind and the brain worked and the mind-body connection.
Yeah.
So I got the RTT and hypnotherapy training, and then when I realized what a powerful tool I had in my hands, I
Mm,
thought, well, now what? What do I do with this now? How do I work with it? And it was then that I came to the realization that the way I could honor this second chance at life that I had been given would be to use this tool to help as many colleagues
mm,
as I can. Because over the last decades, I've seen, and I know you have,
yeah.
I've seen what stress has done to my colleagues. And and I mean, in full transparency, when I started teaching 45 years ago, yes, there were challenges with parents and kids and administrators. Yes, I had to navigate that journey though on my own because there wasn't the help available that there is now. And because I had to do that myself, that was not easy. And so now the challenges that teachers are facing, they are not anything at all like the challenges I faced, even though there were challenges with behavior, all of those things.
Yes.
But there's so much more that teachers are dealing with. And so I've decided that, well, I've just recently turned 70. So I've decided that my 70s
Love
are
it.
going to be my decade of my second brilliant career.
Yep.
Meaning this one I'm doing now. My 80s are going to be my Yoda years because I sure hope I have some wisdom by then. And my 90s, I don't know what that decade's going to be like because I haven't decided yet. But this needs to be the time that I give back,
Hmm.
and so that's what I'd really like to do. I would like to help as many of my colleagues as I can, because as you know, when you are in your classroom, you're the CEO of your own little organization. And we know that the organization is only as good as the people at the top. But if the people at the top, i.e., the teachers, if they are running out of the classroom in the middle of a class or the day, and they're going into the bathroom crying because they're in such distress and they're so overwhelmed, or if they're driving up to the school in the morning and they cannot get out of their car because they cannot get it face the fact they have to walk into the building, well, then my question is, what is going on with the teaching and the learning in the classroom? What's
Right.
happening to that?
Of course.
And so I think that the work that I want to do is it's going to be like dropping a pebble into the water, and it's going to ripple out. So if I help just even one teacher, it'll affect the kids who will go home and interact with the parents differently, who will interact with the community differently, and so on and so forth. But but Denise, I don't just want to drop a pebble. I want to
Hmm.
drop a boulder,
Boulder.
because there's because it needs to ripple out exponentially. There is that much need out there. And I've been following some of these teacher Facebook threads,
Yes. Yeah.
and oh my gosh, you just want to cry
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
some of the things that people are going
Yeah.
through. But just recently, one of the teachers mentioned that she had found her tree, and a few other people talked about that. And when I asked what that was,
Yeah.
people said they're finding a tree to drive into on their way home from work to incapacitate themselves enough so that they don't have to go to work. Not incapacitate themselves too much, but just enough so that they don't have to go back to work. And another person who was from the UK who was on this thread said, in the UK, we don't call it finding a tree, we call it finding a wall or finding a bridge. Well, how did my profession end up like this?
Yeah. I
It
can't.
was it was so I was left speechless. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And
Hmm.
no profession should bring a
No.
person to their knees
No.
like that.
No. No.
And then having said that, I know that not everybody is in the position that I was in to simply pick up my bags and move halfway around the world. I
Right.
get not everybody can do that. Because you might be a single parent, you might be the only breadwinner, there are family obligations, and people and a lot of people, teachers, are so far into the profession, they're so far into the whole pension thing, that ends up being a problem, if you know what I mean. It's
For
too
sure.
difficult
Yeah.
to be. So the question is, what do people do in the meantime in order to navigate the
Yeah.
challenges?
Yeah.
And so the message I want to get out there is that help is available. There
Yeah.
wasn't the kind of help that was available now when I needed it, but there is help now.
Yeah.
And when I think when we are down in the depths of despair,
Yeah.
we think that our whole life has to be upended before we can make any changes. But that's not necessarily true. You don't have to move halfway across the world.
Right.
Maybe the only thing you need to do is change grade level, or maybe you need to change schools, or
Schools. Yeah.
maybe school
Yeah.
districts, or maybe you need to, if possible, move to a different city, or if possible, move across the province or across the state, or if possible, move across the country, or if possible, or move across to the other side of the world, if possible, or move out of the profession if that's what it takes to get your life and your mental, physical, and emotional health back.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to upend your whole life.
Right.
You
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
But maybe you do, but that's not the first thing that we should totally
Right.
think about, because
Right.
then it leaves us feeling even more overwhelmed and feeling even more helpless. Like, well, it's just too bad. I just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So we end
Yeah.
up staying where we are, staying miserable
Hmm.
and in the depths of despair. And, you know, I would like to just pose the question that what is the cost of not?
Yeah.
What is the cost of not doing even the smallest thing to help your physical, mental, and emotional health? What is the cost to you? What is the cost to your family? What is the cost to your friends, to your colleagues, to your students, to you professionally and personally? What is the cost of not?
Hmm. For sure.
So, and I think that one of the things, one of the other things that ends up keeping people stuck is because we all don't realize the limiting beliefs that we have.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
and, if you think of a limiting belief like an anchor that's attached to a boat, the anchor is underneath the surface of the water. We don't even see it. We just know that it's there because the boat is not moving.
Right.
Well,
Right.
similarly, our limiting beliefs function the same way. They're in our subconscious. We lots of times don't even know they're there. All we know is that we keep getting stuck in the same dead end relationships, the same dead end jobs, the same dead end financial position, and we don't know why.
Hmm.
And so, in using rapid transformational therapy, RTT, we access the subconscious through hypnosis. And when we get to the subconscious, we can find out what those limiting beliefs are. We can find out where they occurred, why they occurred. We can flip those limiting beliefs into beliefs that actually empower you, and then you're free to fly. Then you're free to move towards the life you envision. But as long as you have the limiting belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not tall enough, rich enough, pretty enough, educated enough, whatever the not enough thing is, or if you have the belief that what I want is not available to me, or if you have the belief that I'm so different, I can't connect to other people, well, then you're going to stay in the depths of despair. But once we get at what that limiting belief is, like I can't ask for help, then we can flip that. And then when people start to soar, they start to remember what their superpowers are.
Right. For
Because
sure.
when we're down there, we have forgotten. Oh, I got my PhD degree. I bought my first house. I sold my first book. I had my first baby. I just got married.
Right.
We forget all of that because all we can see is all of that muck and that murk. So that's a
It's
really long answer to your first question.
that you
There
covered.
we go.
Yeah, that's okay. You've covered so much. And I love what you were saying with regards to, um, releasing that limiting belief. And once that starts happening, you can, instead of spiraling downward, you spiral and fly up
Yes.
because you see the possibilities. The possibilities have always been there, they're always
Yes.
within you. And when you
Yes.
spend that time for you, by you, because of you, as the
Yes.
center of your next move, it is
Yes.
not egotistical. It is required. If you listen to what Carolyn just said, you and your energy impact everything around you. You are like that stone being thrown in the pond, and you have a ripple effect. So,
Yes.
if you are one of the people that you were listening to as Carolyn was telling her beautiful story and very scary at the same time about people in education specifically and how stressed they are and what their thoughts are, that is not serving you. So the job is overtaking what your expectations are, what all the stuff is that's all hard is overriding your true gift and your true passions. So I love what you're
Yes.
saying, Carolyn, because RTT is a proven method. Hypnosis is a proven method that you have the skill
Yes.
set, ability, and I can tell the passion. Oh my gosh, yes. You need to find somebody like Carolyn who can take you from these thoughts that are not serving you or anyone else around you, and all those within what I call the sphere of influence, your students, your
Yes,
family, your friends,
yes,
are being impacted. And not that you're trying to make that happen because I know you're stuck, but look what can happen when you change that and you change
yes,
that negativity and you start to flip that script for yourself first,
yes,
right?
yes. And I think that what is important to remember is that um, our friends can't help us.
Mm,
They can't. Our friends can listen, but there is no point in ranting to your friends over and over and over again about the same stuff, because number one, it's not their job to help you
hmm.
because they can't. They can listen, but I have to
Sure.
tell you, after a while, when you start talking about the same stuff, your friends just roll their eyes. They don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, unless you're willing to do something about it, nobody wants to hear it anymore. So you have to be willing to do something about it. Otherwise, nothing changes.
Right.
And I remember when years ago when I was still back in Canada, I was doing my own hypnotherapy for my own issues, right?
Hmm.
And I remember during one session, um, I had said to the therapist, I said, I can't believe I'm paying you money just so that you can sit here and be my friend. Well, you know what? My friends didn't want to hear it anymore. My friends didn't know how to help me,
Yeah. That's just it, isn't it?
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that's fine for a while, but
Hmm.
then it doesn't move you forward.
No.
So you
Yeah.
need to find that circle of influence, that sphere of
Yeah.
influence, or you need to be in the proximity of people who can help.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, nothing gets done. Now, there's a lot. Now, my one colleague has said her mantra is mindset, strategy, action. So a lot of people have the mindset, but they don't have the strategy to do anything. Yeah, I want to get out of teaching, for example, but then that's all they say. Or
Right.
some people have the mindset and then they go into action right away without having any strategy, and they're just all over the place without. So you have to have those three things.
Hmm.
But first and foremost, you have to make a commitment to yourself that you are number one. You
Yes.
deserve your own attention, because
Yes.
yes, you can give the best of yourself to your students, but then what does your family get? Your family gets the leftovers. You get the left. You don't even have anything left for yourself by the time you get home.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
must
Yeah.
do something to prioritize yourself. And I have to say, there have been a number of times in my 45 years of teaching, particularly the last 5 years,
Yeah.
when I was teaching internationally. International teaching is a totally different gig than teaching back home. And so there weren't enough, we didn't have, in fact, any substitute teachers. So if there was someone away, the secretary or somebody would look on your timetable. If you had a free block,
Right.
then they would ask you to take over so and so's
Yeah.
class, which is just annoying as anything, because that might have been your only free block that day, and you
Right.
had to, go to the copy machine or whatever
Yeah.
teachers have to do, right?
Sure.
I finally decided, you know what? I had planned X, Y, and Z for this work period. It is of top priority. And so I started to feel absolutely fine saying to the secretary, you know, that's not going to work for me today.
Hmm.
This is my priority. I'm sorry, you need to find somebody else. And the secretary would come back and say, well, it says on your schedule that you're available. And what are you doing? I said, here's the thing. You're not my line manager. I don't need to answer to you,
Hmm.
but I'm in charge of my classroom. I know that this is an absolute priority. Now,
Right.
tomorrow I can help you, but I
Right.
cannot help you today.
Yeah.
You have to set a boundary. You must. You
Right.
must be able to say no because, when you are overwhelmed and exhausted and you're fatigued and you're just plain hungry,
Yeah.
when a colleague walks into your room, you just roll your eyes and you think, now what is she going to ask me to do? And she asks you to do her duty yet again because she's got to leave early for blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're just too exhausted to say no. And so you
Hmm.
go and do it. And how many
Yeah.
more times do you just go in? Because you don't say no.
Right. Right.
And if you don't start saying no,
Hmm.
then who are you impacting? And I know, you know, teachers think if they say no too many times, it's going to damage their upward mobility if
Yeah.
they're hoping to move upwards.
Right.
And that is a real that's a reality
Good.
in some
Yeah.
instances. I get that. And so, how do you temper that, right?
Right.
So and the other thing is, when you are a teacher just full of angst and you mention some of this to family or friends, for example, you get the well-meaning family and friends who say, well, what do you mean you're thinking about leaving? Why can't you be happy? You have 2 months summer holiday. Look at all those holidays. You go da 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 da.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you and I both know when teachers are on 2 month summer holidays, they are not vacationing down in the Bahamas for 2 months because number one, they can't afford it. Number two, they're so exhausted they need some rest time. And number three, as soon as school finishes, they're starting to plan for the fall. They're starting to get
Yeah.
materials ready. They're having
Yeah.
to do professional development to keep up certification. It is not a two
There's,
month
yeah.
holiday.
Yeah. For sure.
And so, when non-teachers try to tell us or comment on what it's like to be a teacher, what teachers actually do, and how easy the job, there's no way that you can comment on what, unless you've actually been in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because for a non-teacher to try to influence us that way would be as ridiculous as me saying to the doctor, well, I can tell you how to do an appendectomy because I've sat in the doctor's office so many times over the
Right. Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so over the years, I have had to say to some people who've tried to tell me what to do in my classroom because they thought that they knew what happened.
Hmm.
I said to them, you see that lineup of people behind me? Get in line with all those other people who want to tell me what to do and what they think I should be doing in the classroom because they think they know. Because
Hmm.
unless you've been in the classroom, you
Yeah.
don't have a clue.
Well,
So I'm sorry, Denise. So
that's okay.
talking to well-meaning friends and family doesn't help. It
Right.
just doesn't help.
Well, and I think what it's doing is what you talked about earlier is the more that you talk about the things that are broken and the struggles that you're having, the more you're going to stay there because you're just
Yes,
building the momentum to stay in that rut.
yes, yes,
The one thing I find interesting is that everybody, well, I'm not going to say everybody because some people are homeschooled in their lifetime, but everybody's had some opportunity to be in a classroom. So
yes,
I think
yes,
people believe that, well, I know what schooling is because I've done it.
yes,
So I know how.
absolutely.
And so the nice part about probably what you do is some support around the messaging, how people can message and share.
Yes,
This
yes,
is, whoop, we're across the line there,
yes,
or however it gets to be phrased and whatever that needs to look like, sound
yes,
like, feel like. But
yes,
I love your passion. I love your the way that you look at life in terms of when I was 50, now I'm 6, now I'm 70, I'm 80, and you're even talking about your 90s because you're not quite sure. Um, if we keep this show going for that long, I want to keep having you back at least every 10 years, if not
once a
more.
decade.
It's my goal because I want to see what types of things you are doing next because clearly grass does not grow underneath your feet. And I love that about you. I love your passion. I love your desire to make a difference and let people know that your life is so much more than you might be thinking it is. So if you have
Yes,
listened to our podcast, and this resonates with you, if you are in education in any form or fashion, please reach out to Carolyn. Her information will be in the show notes. You can contact her through her website, I believe is there.
Yes. Yes.
And honestly, I am in awe of your energy and you just glow. And
Thank
I
you.
know that 5 years ago must have been something that shifted everything in you and
Frightening.
more. For sure. And I'm so happy that what you have done with that experience has been nothing short of phenomenal by turning around and being of service to others to show them what is possible. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being on our show today. We really
Thank
appreciate your
you.
words of wisdom, your energy, and your expertise. And again, if you have not yet reached out to Carolyn after having our conversation, save this podcast to your podcast list. You want to re view it in the future, review it now, and again, check Carolyn out on her website. So thank you,
Thank
Carolyn,
you.
for being here. And if you are not yet following us on our podcast, whichever podcast stream you use, because we are out there far and wide, and I'm so thrilled about that, come and listen to our podcast, Thrive After 45. It is phenomenal with guests such as Carolyn. We pick the best of the best, and we want to show you what is possible for you, by you, because of you. Thank you again. Please leave a review. Please follow, and we will see you in our next episode. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.